So imagine one tool that could make you track your growth, your journey, very accurately, and make you even understand yourself more deeply. That's what journaling does. And I'm going to tell you how to do it and why it does that. I used to think journaling was just bullshit when I was younger. Before doing it, I was like, you write down a few words and it's life-changing. Yeah, of course. Like, we haven't been writing all these years and it didn't do a thing. But it's actually a lot deeper than that. And I realized that after doing some journaling and actually seeing the results, journaling is beautiful. It's literally a representation of who you are at that specific moment and what thoughts you actually have. It's literally a piece of paper that tells you what that version of you is at that moment, that you can look back on, literally. You literally write down what's in your head. You reflect on it. You read it. You understand yourself better. It's almost like you're not yourself when you're reading it. You're someone else reading about someone else, but it's all you. When you're analyzing someone, it's like, I think this person's like this. They say this because of this. You're doing that to yourself. And what's funny is, as you improve, naturally, your version of yourself becomes better. So over time, as I journaled, as time went by, I started reading back on my entries, my previous writings. And when you look at someone younger, talk about their problems, and you're like, how cute. Like, wait until you're at my age. And I'm sure people a lot older than me feel that way. You feel that when you journal and when you read back on the things you wrote, because it's like, oh, I struggled with this, but it's gone now. Like, something that seemed to be life-changing in a bad way at that moment when I wrote it, it's gone. I went through it, I surpassed it, and now I'm here. And when you read back on that and you see one entry after another entry after another entry, and they're all like that, like, oh, that can surpass a lot of things that I thought would be life-changing in a detrimental way. That's powerful. That's honestly what happens when you grow. Like, you just look back on the things that used to be a struggle and you're like, oh, that's nothing now. If previously you thought, I don't know, and it depends where people start, obviously, and the struggles that people have. If you thought, I don't know, oh, overeating is, I can go on a diet. I just can't go on a diet. And 2 years later, you're shredded and you just do things like that by habit, by impulse. It's like, oh, I had that problem? Like, you don't really forget that you had the problem. Obviously, we've got a brain, we remember things, but you forget it on a daily routine sense. It's no longer a part of you, part of your daily life. And when you read that, you're like, oh, I guess that was a big thing that I overcame. And now I'm here. And you will have a bigger problem. You always have big problems. And the goal isn't to shy away from those. It's to pick your problems and actually overcoming them. And that's so beautiful. When you can look at your past entries, you recognize yourself because, well, when you read it, you sort of remember writing it and you can just see, okay, I wrote this, the style, and you feel the emotions and everything. But you're like, wow, it's not as big of a deal as it sounded back then. I actually overcame that and I actually feel like I can overcome anything. And that feeling, even though you might not overcome everything, right? I mean, we're not superheroes, invincible, but it's so powerful. Just carrying that with you is going to change your life for sure. It just allows us to observe ourselves. And when you think about it, unless you're like forced to, a lot of people, and even us, we don't really observe ourselves that much or as much as we should. We're always observing others. How is that person going to react to what I say? What is that person going to say to me? All these things, but we never think, oh, what would I say? Or what do I think about me? All these things, we don't self-reflect as much as we should, or most people anyways. And journaling really does allow us to do that in almost an automatic way, because we're just reading our past writings and automatically we'll be thinking about how we were back then and how we are now, even though we're not actively trying to do that, or at least we'll be feeling the emotions. So don't say any excuses or anything. Literally just do this. Pick a copy, a notebook, or even a piece of paper and just, keep them. Don't just throw them out. And literally put the date and just write down something you find valuable in yourself, something that just happened or something you're struggling with, thoughts, anything. You want to build the habit of just putting down your thoughts and basically what you're thinking about on paper. Just do that. Do that for like, I don't know, a week, maybe a week, 2 weeks, just daily. And if you miss a day, don't stress it. Just keep going at it. Do it. And then eventually when you have, I would say about like maybe 10 entries or so, read back on it. And the reason why I say a little bit more than like, just 2 or 3, basically 10, is because you'll remember the first anyways. You need to sort of like forget it a little bit, or it needs not be as impactful in an automatic sense that you remember it, in my opinion, so that you can read back on it. And then you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. So you need to like forget it first so that it really brings the most value. So that's my challenge for you. Grab pen, paper, and set a timer for 5 minutes, actually, 5 minutes, and write down your thoughts. Do that every day. It's 5 minutes. Like, come on, seriously. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. And I don't think your life will ever be the same again if you do this properly. Thanks for watching. Strive for progress, not perfection.